of Nationalism by Ingrid, Vanessa, Paula, Andrea, and Sandra. Many people would define nationalism as just being proud of their own country, their traditions, and about their historical legacy, but it's much than that. So, what does nationalism really mean? Well, nationalism is something that brings people from the same nation together. In some cases, it may also lead to discrimination or inequality. So, how does this term apply? What actually happened? Well, in the 19th century, people started feeling proud of their nations, and with all the previous events that have already happened, they started to fight for a change. And ideas like unity, fraternity, and fairness were the things that we see the most at those times. The most involved countries in the rise of nationalism were Germany, France, Holland, Belgium, Greece, and Italy. Since Belgium started to revolt against the union with Holland and Greece to rose against Turkey and their own rule. These movements of revolutions continued until 1848, but most of them did not work.
After the fall of Napoleon during the Revolution of 1848, Italy divided, so the Italians saw that they needed an integration. The government knew they were lacking economic resources and that it was necessary asking for help from countries like France or Australia. But the Italian general Giuseppe Garibaldi organized the Young Italy movement, in which by taking territories, he, together with the help of his soldiers, united Italy. This was between 1859 and 1870. Back then, Germany was divided in approximately 300 small kingdoms. In the times of Napoleon, he formed the Confederation of Rhine, and after his fall, they started to become familiar with democratic and nationalist ideas. The space they had was reorganized and formed the German Confederation with Austria as its precedents. Austria was an enemy of democracy and liberalism, but German nationalism aspirations did not die.
After all, Otto von Bismarck was the person responsible for leading this movement and unifying Germany. He was a prince and duke from Lemberg and a conservative Prussian statesman. The two unified nations, especially one as strongly industrialized as Germany, broke all the governments in Europe. There was no control nor balance. This actually was one of the reasons that caused the First World War. The European countries fighting during this war saw it as a fight for their nationalism, imperialism, and militarism legacy. During these years, there was also a big industrial movement and development in Europe. This was because the countries wanted to prove that they could invent the greatest tools and gadgets. All these movements brought a lot of social and political changes to Europe. Great Britain imposed a reform bill and they began a welfare state.
They were pushing for political reform. However, they didn't want to change much because they didn't want to end up like France. They were having a lot of chaos in their country because of the revolution. During this period, France went through a lot of change. In 1789, they established the principle of democracy, which was unusual because it was the first country in Europe to ever experience democracy. But then, the rest of the European countries started to establish it. At the end of these movements, Australia had lost almost all of its remaining claims and influence in Italy. The state needed to redefine itself to maintain unity. They also had to make several changes in their political to be able to remain as a country.
Finally, during these years, Russia was also suffering. it wasn't very affected by all this revolution. But anyway, they didn't have enough capital to compete against all the rapid industrial and technological development that was taking place in the rest of the world. It was a period of slow advancement of this country. During all the process of the movement, European lands were in a constant change that was also in search of improvement. And it can be well appreciated that the unification of the people made a great impact, giving a surprise the result they wanted. Nowadays, the concept of nationalism consists about the pride of being from one's land. This is our conclusion. We may add that after analyzing the information that we found, we appreciated the hard work that was done years back and let us see the government as the way we have it now.